Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 73 of my story. So, around this time at FMC Carswell, things are really starting to heat up and things are getting worse before they are getting better. We thought that we were doing a good thing by hiding our tissue and sanitary products from the SIS workers across the street coming to take them to bring them on the inside where they were going without. However, they end up sending our camp officers around with bags to go through our lockers now. And so we thought that we were smart and we were going to get as much tissue as we could and we were going to hide it in our lockers. Every single inmate. Some of us had like 30 rows because we were so afraid of the unknown. We were so afraid of what we was hearing about what was going on in the inside. Sadly, at this time, Carswell now loses its fifth victim, female, to COVID. The woman by the name of Wendy Campbell, she was 56 years old with long-term health conditions. I don't know why she didn't qualify for CARES Act. It really doesn't matter. The part that matters is that this woman is dead because the proper protocol was not followed to prevent her death. Also, by this time, we're losing another inmate, sixth inmate at FMC Carswell, Neba. Neba was 56 years old, and she really had a lengthy sentence of 900 months of incarceration for a non-violent crime. Things are going haywire at the FCI. Inmates now have no access to not only showers, they receive sack lunches for 23 days straight now. The inmates now are getting fed up. Officers are now filing suit against the BOP who are at Carswell stating that they don't have the proper PPE and that they don't feel safe. So at this time, things are getting out of hand. The ladies across the street are now bleeding through their clothing, urinating themselves, and nobody is giving them sanitation products, and they are being threatened with shotguns to shut up and be quiet. So at this time for the inmates, the females over at the FCI, the officers are also cutting the ACs off on them. They're cutting the ACs off because they don't know if COVID could be spreaded to them through the air conditioning, which is completely wrong. Because the FCI is a high rise, and so they actually have units and dorms that they live in, unlike at the camp where we're in separate rooms. And these ladies are living and sleeping on top of each other in the worst conditions imaginable. And sadly, nobody really cares. Basically, staff is afraid, but they're the ones that's leaving every day, and they're the ones that can contract this on the outside and bring it back into the prison system. And they're actually the reason why FMC Carswell has now lost 6 women to this COVID pandemic. I know from being at the camp that it's very hard to be able to social distance. I know from being at the camp, the masks that they gave these women were not CDC compatible because they, for number one, were not N95s, and for number two, they were cloth and they did not even hold on your face. Also at this time, these ladies have not had access to commissary along with hygiene. They don't have soap, they don't have deodorant, they don't have toothpaste. They get together and they file a massive lawsuit against FMC Carswell. There's putting officers' names who are responsible in this. They're also stating, what happened. And this is a large lawsuit. This lawsuit has maybe like 90 or more women names on it. And you can also go online and look at this lawsuit that they filed. Sadly, at some point, once it did make it to a federal judge, the judge decided that, hey, y'all need to pay your own fees to file this. Well, let me tell you, this is the COVID pandemic, and it's women who don't have that type of money. So what happens is, from having multiple people on this lawsuit, it has went down to having very minimal people on this lawsuit at this time because they can't afford the filing fees, which I feel like was a violation of their direct rights to the courts. Because for number one, these are inmates who are incarcerated in a pandemic, and now you have taken away their rights to voice and their concerns for themselves in a court system. So shame on you, judge, for doing this to these ladies who had an accurate lawsuit. So y'all remember my last video when I talked about the massive room moves, where basically they were putting every single work detail together with their work detail. So Of course, I was a sanitarian. I work for sanitation. I'm on a compound every day, all day. With my work detail, we live together. We're the only ones allowed outside our rooms. These other details were allowed, where they allowed some inmates to go to work. Their bosses had to come over to the camp and escort them down to facilities, down to the powerhouse, or even to the kitchen. A boss over at facilities had contracted COVID, had been coming to work sick. They did their basic screenings on him, which included that forehead scan to see if he had a temperature. I guess for a couple of days he didn't, even though he was feeling ill. He continued to come to work. Soon he took very sick while he was at work. He gets tested for COVID. He's positive. This whole work detail, I'm out on the compound. I'm called into the counselor's office. Miss Bush, Miss Armstrong, we want y'all to go stand in front of that room and tell them if that door is open to close it, if those windows are up to close it, and do not come out. And I remember we was like, well, what's going on? What's going on? Do what I say. And so we went over to this side of the compound. We knocked on their windows. They were in the room sitting there. And we said, don't open the door. Y'all are not allowed to come outside y'all's room. Do not open these doors and don't raise y'all windows. And they want to know, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And so we're saying, we don't know, but we have to stand here until somebody comes. So we're standing outside this room waiting for a staff member or whoever to come. They come, and now they're going to test these ladies for COVID. They start this testing of these ladies. And sure enough, these ladies who have been moving around somewhat on the compound, going down to work with their work detail boss, test positive for COVID. So when they test positive for COVID, they're automatically quarantined, but they have space across the street some kind of way. They're going to send them across the street to be quarantined. They send this whole group of positive inmates across the street. And then we're told, y'all have to go inside that room and sanitize it down. So we're going in there with bleach, something that we had been given during the pandemic as sanitation workers. There's wax size, something that they use in the hospital settings. And there's other chemicals that they believe combat the spread of it. So we're touching all this contaminated stuff. They're telling us to basically take everything they have out this room, put it in these big, huge sacks, these yellow bags, and we're putting it in these big red bins that are for laundry, and this stuff needs to go across the street. It's like a whole bunch of stuff. So me and Miss Armstrong, we don't like this. We're like, why the hell they got us up in here doing it? But of course, y'all, I was a sanitarian. I had complete PPE. I had access to gloves, N95, face shields, masks, gown, headgear, and footgear. So yes, I was protected in this job that I was doing. However, I was not skilled in this field. This was just something that they told me to do, that they had me out doing. And I took this very, very seriously because I felt like I didn't want to catch COVID and be sick. And I didn't like the fact that people were getting sick at the camp. However, at the same time, we have a scabies outbreak. The camp has scabies. And again, myself and Miss Armstrong is told to go in these rooms and rid all of their uniforms, all of the bedding off these beds and everything, and put them in these red bins and take it across the street. I absolutely did not like this. I had never had scabies in my life, and the person that had spread it around the compound had been on the compound for some time and had transferred from a facility with these scabies and had moved from room to room, and every single person that was friends with her that was in a different room had scabies at this time. So again, they're moving people around. They're trying to take these people and quarantine them separately from other people on the compound. And I'm designated to go around and help with this.